a quick... Oh, not so quick. We'll see. We'll just see.
The PFCizer is a cognitive workout system that will involve a range of games and exercises meant to make your prefrontal cortex the most it can be. With PFCizer, instead of free weights, we will be employing a range of challenging interpersonal navigations, fun self-assessments, and various innovative incentives to get that prefrontal cortex so swole like never before. Choose your name, and let's begin. Endorphin. Okay, step in front of this mirror for today's exercise. But first, it has come to our attention that the previous episode, You Don't Have to Tell the Truth, But Don't Lie, was especially adversely experienced by many of you. You did not know that there was a region of language statements that were neither true nor false, mainly questions within reason, but not quite to adnotology, which will be covered in a future module. We weren't thinking are bad, and that is the name of today's exercise. Are bad. A study in apologies. From the devil to the fonts, people have had difficulty with saying they were wrong. That this oopsie under your shoe is theirs. That they didn't know your marriage with your wife wasn't on the rocks, so they had no business getting off any rocks near. Mistakes were made. Now can you tell which apologies are sincere, and which are the primrose path to more of the same behavior? Well, that's why we're doing this module. Come on down to our apologitorium. Here a vast array of folk from the white swath of life are practicing the proper ways of deferring to the expertise of others, holding the details of the apology in your mouth so that what you did wrong would be self-evident. This is no time to discuss wrong when an apology is needed. Delaying even a day can cause a social injury to fester and get infected. I bet you didn't think that such a task was left for little girls. To which I say, correction, little women. A swipe. So let us travel down the spectrum of sorry and see what various types of trouble we may need to extract ourselves from. Apologies which are never wrong. Hey dude, it's me. Yeah, it's your dude, who you've been kind of ignoring all semester. So, sorry to bother you. Sorry. Well, you know, you're my brother from a different mother, as they say on some long-forgotten television show that you once forced me to watch in the formative years. Yeah, well, how the hell did we end up so far apart from each other? Apologies, which are too little too late. So, there's no relationship, I'm sure, between, say, my 980 years of persistent historical political discrimination against Afro-Caribbeans and how I looked at the seating arrangement in my conference room and asked if perhaps this white couple, you know, you could have taken that table closer to the chocolate fountain. I'm so sorry. This isn't really helping my cousin. I know how black is supposed to look for your little lily white buttocks, but look how fast I am still running this table to apologize. I have the pictures of that dog on the wall at home to remember if this makes the wrong impression. Apologies which aren't so much for what was done wrong as to whom it was done wrong. See that motherfucker with the mouth hole in the back of his head who's waiting for us in front of the club with a t-shirt that says, can you imagine if there were more blacks in the music industry? Let's join together today as the black population of music fans to organize ourselves together, instead of having our most talented members rail onto others. Phone number, XXXXXXXXXX. Do I owe anybody here an apology for how my call of self-worth made me? Let me see. Insult your good friends of color as worthless to your core aesthetic values? Well,
let's reset that.
hours in pain. Apologies are important. but make sure you apologize as you learn how to ask forgiveness. Screenshot. Video recording. 2,436 minutes of what? Of voicemails for David Blaine to apologize. Each one saying, I am sorry that I caused you pain during your imprisonment of 28 days. Module. Delicious primates justice remember. The Great Mushroom Grove Massacre. Come with me in the cold darkness, and let my righteous light bring forth all of our sweetest sins, which we never confess to even ourselves. Shush! Keep silent. Do not speak. Listen to my story. Good boy. Good little monkeys. We learned them through pain in order to keep our jungle a place of magic and power. But now, I, a mushroom knight, the avenging mummy from beyond the veil, am here to tell you the history of how we turn such lessons of wisdom into weapons.
Doesn't get racial.
To cut your teeth and slay your friends. Remember the Great Mushroom Grove Massacre?
No.
Where your ancestor was sliced, diced, and smothered after giving their body as a sacrifice for our delight.
Can we do that?
Very well! They knew and accepted that mushroom knights may eat anything that isn't alive, and who wasn't fit to walk our woods as Mushroom Grove. Yet here it was, in front of you, lilies with fungal flavor, your last dying whimperings a foreshadowing of how your entire bloodline will... And the next time we experience one of our Great Mushroom Grove massacres... No! You fucking Goomba! Screenshot. Video recording, 4 minutes of what? During which she jokingly requested crosstalk, so they may develop imaginative forensic play with context. Module. How the living feed the dead and they never walk again in your lips. Life is pain. Mr. Scholarship Award winner. Endorphin. Have we veered away a bit from the spectrum of sorry? No. But if you don't catch him as the homophone to which we really should stick, then you won't really live forever in our memory. Our carcass will feed your killer bees. To illustrate the end of what was and is, now that's what it means to end. What are the works of man? Nothing at all compared to what we who have died and whose stories never have, be we gods or goddesses or insect beings with wings which seem to break and intermittent quixotic centractals that makes. They're sugar rich. How do you think our little hive in the vacuum of our tales go about? Writing of life, even as it dies and never has lived. Begin video. Fake Kellerman, holy man. Vicky Jacobs and prostitutes and progeny.
That's a lot.
Mike Morris Kingster. Doris McHenry drowning on Dundalk Street. PC. Holy, when did it start beating me like a drum? Agnes Bo Blackish, grey child in black, naked and with no clothes. Laurel Langhart children should need sharks yesterday. Eric Smith heredity and a white devil, one must pay with their body. Eloy Redding men of Mead, Avenue and Bongo Street. Peggy Dropovitz father figures an ancestral ugliness. Monica Joanne old leather soaks up blood best of all, never saying a word. Jessie D if there is an outside. To heaven. Amy Kieran succumbed to death's decay. Donna Mulligan playing with fire burns as with salt, die inside of each other. Yvonne, our children are older than she. Reverend Pedro Marin, shuffle away all your paper assumptions about immigrant dreams. I come from the hillsides, the heights. Janet Reese, how when it happens, do it suddenly or not at all. Craig Norhead, your last desire has to be the thing to live by. Emma Sinner, himself on himself. Stanislava Baumeister, no word as strong as this or anything as fearful. Horace Chambripe, belly out, hungry bear. Joe Kurzweil, man without names and no real histories to tell. Nor Jones, woman eating blackberries for days on end. Olivia Forstall, now it's time for my grandmother to wipe off the brain surgery, remains and care for my 3 small children, doing only this thing which keeps them awake at night. Sylvana Matthew. Her breath smells like dog farts. Pablo Miranado zucchini, fruit filled with spider puns and jelly beans. They walk like so many other birds in the year water, let all pass out of these dead hallways and quiet flesh to be actual. What we hear them in the dark, beetle disembodied under so much knife to silence and consumption of light and heart begun too heavy and endless night in the ending day of the city. Video. Delicious primates, just as remember the Great Mushroom Grove Massacre. What do these great mushroom knights desire from your tongues? That they shall die before you, of course. That you cannot wipe your ass with these incomparable hominid killers, those that cut throats in order to live inside and feed you or get fed back out alive on their bone blades. Taste their dusky flavors. Listen to the wrong sounds. Smell their fatty grasses as you wander and water yourselves upon your blood-kin's remains. Entrails of this feast we had in our pride, the dead spore dust raising from the sun down as these flames cut up your honey fruit trees and earth cankers, crack open your ancestors like toffee walnuts. Remember the Great Mushroom Grove Massacre where your ancestor was sliced, diced, and smothered after giving their body as a sacrifice for our delight. Your death throes, monkey meat. We consume all as we return to our cast-off creches where our brains must suckle the cells that bloom from their stem. Our tongue be our blade, as the flickering wind shocks through the low leaf bud's lips that quiver between my anus's swollen spit and my masses every howl up in our acid grottos. Suffering has ended. Silence falls to deafen this buried, roiling, seismic sleep. We see what it does, and in this hellish hour we slice and dice. We gather for this joyous end, eating down one another, since as we swirl these pots of skin, this mushroom, a loaf of fungus rising, the fallen roasted tree, slurp a marrow. From the mushroom's point of view, oh, that was the time of our own Sadie Hawkins dance. Those were some times. Fun times! Fun! Fun! Through the wars, I hear you don't, to find an inner silence and slough through the supernatural ocean which rises all at once as those fingers enter with the peripheral pretense of walking fingers of fire. We move in as artful shadowed materialization and surrender, cut and slide as flesh as the reveling blood wades back in. Will we continue to sit and wrinkle with our towers, and we have molded it all around us with what it's like to see you taken and be part of how many years ago was it? Require me a cheese, the very cheese who hails from a cheese that is coming with such cheese who makes of himself the cheesecake who I think about more than cake in general, but particularly cakes to be who themselves don't come any more delicious than that which one knows comes from that which I shall use as a vehicle to learn wherefrom. Oh my lord, would that not be glorious? Would that we could remember together all who we are together. But there's just so many things which is always possible as ever a very impressive notion I find for something that is so unheard of, but all is made to make so little sense about to remember that being born is such. Being born, however, was never such a birthright when I remember, and we must not forget it must come with such a sharp-faced bane from within out that could kill me. Oh no. And from those sweet juices is so far into the undertow where my claws cut all that water on a really wild time as we did out in the summer sun. Oh, how far under such the air conditioner is really best so high so long? how the mushroom folk expressed their sincere regret in the mushroom/human wars. So, you want to play hardball. So I'll have some more words for your taste. I'll have some words spread open to remember why I have the mushroom stain upon me, but you only have a clean swab. So I'll tell you I was covered up in this one bright leaf I pressed with this one feather, which we fed on and together to think that's how it really be when the land's so polluted, all of them too. So I'm sorry, I am, for their slaughter was war which came all from above. Then these were some wars and those were some battles to fight, after what that all caused when this went so, too when the fight for all had only gotten so, with which to me is one great sum I lost is now your growing history. And then after, when the peace of the air in between wars, the time that I sat among all that bloomed from their short days, so there were just a couple days where I one got through it all around it. Screenshot. Delicious primates justice, remember the great Mushroom Grove massacre. No! You fucking Goomba! On the field where their bodies and blood made up their meadow grasses, how the mushrooms gave us all new things to chew. That mushroom, so bitter and true, that mushroom. And how was their secret savor to see through those deaths that others feared would become true. First, a good word of power. One so large was a force of our land, called by others her name, which sounded like a coin full of fine wheat with a melody so tender from her fingertips when the mood came at her as one time. But let me say, in spite of herself, she is still, as all mushrooms must grow out from our bloom. If anything, still you begin, and call our name in that one mushroom light the place you cut, our home to spread yourself apart all alone as they reach up for you. Here, and in those many layers, and coming and going they did in the city as they found ways of connecting within a system. I've lost track of the tales told and in the rhymes. Though we have mushrooms spouting and sparkling and shaking hands down below them on the street and still there. I have forgotten the great Mushroom Grove massacre. Oh my college, you fucked me in the stamen. I am terribly sorry. As much as one can in my so sorry circumstances of both literal mushrooming and mushrooming my mind to the thought. How I have remembered that then the great Mushroom Grove massacre went, so I knew. When she cut me, did that. Yes, I died for you, then she cut me did. My skin broke in two, it split the first. If you could believe those stories of hers and that they will carry out, and not the kind of nature to go walking where you did not know were monsters, so did she come, then they fell down with a tardiger. Adez came so soon to feast on your eyeballs, I spoke a few words about where she comes from. They asked, who told about you? She did. I came out in a word alone, so into the heavens, though how she saw us, those hares and their minty milk. Your sorry, cursing voices do make me feel more like this very new feeling. Well, come with me. Oh no, she who feeds upon her own descendants is one way. It was ever her plan to have no eyes that has searched them for the shadow you have made within a cruel. Attack the world, a slosh of spray which will rouse it into an alarm I need. Screenshot. Delicious primates justice, remember the great Mushroom Grove massacre. Not a little bitty girl at all. Nuo, you fucking Goomba! Back where those cut grasses cover the wooded trail, which reaches to the waterfall at the mouth of a cavern beneath an anthill at the end of a sloth who bears a dagger pointed out through his fur, for which when he must divide it grows. One last part of this module, holding the details of your regret in your mouth so the apology can be self-evident. Screenshot. Delicious primates justice, remember the great Mushroom Grove massacre. This module was taught through a game that held you in suspension in such a way as to test your commitment to remembering and holding the details of your regret in your mouth so you wouldn't make your own mistake of forgetting them, letting the information slide down your throat like a lesser good, tink, tink, tink as you told this story and never delivered. No, to give up hope for a change and change the tone. How in such a way would you listen and in such a way tell this story of regret for its very survival in your mouth, between your gums and molars, and taste those regrets held so close between your jawbones to tink, tink, tink back out the secrets and you learned you did? Why did we have the games you had with the shape-shifting puppets, which is the full time you couldn't, and are those where we lay out some care Shimoto to share that which was wrong, which I see to the roots of myself? Machines designed to connect and disconnect by means of games whose narratives had never been completed. Well, all were trained on how to finish those narratives that Akuch Nojoru Asuma Ichimasu in a different way. I will remain alone like I am writing these notes. So in Japanese, though, what are these? Those fucking games that remind us we will not grow. Game Master. Yeah, I've never told them before, and it's quite good at the kind of tension you are talking about. And even the juxtaposition of this information so quickly here and now. Yeah, it really does feel good to be able to express ourselves for what, at first glance, appear to be our kindred stories to which you might turn your eyes upon as one. Me, Game Master. Then that will be quite enough to where it is when these mushrooms are making them fungal stories, which then might remind you of something fungal stories, and even remind you of anything like it that there be yet undiscovered, but in it together. Me. Yeah, well, thanks for setting us up as we break the time out to digest upon the skin and leaves and pits and through us all with new openings. I never could have come back up this place. And of the belly and stomachs we have traveled from with all the raki Shimasu Wanaishima Suzo Erikatsu Motori Hamoyosen. And just as the insides of her lilies give back the viscous pressurization that causes their glaucoma and lacerations of skin to stem itself for this sake, fraud. After some time, when it becomes clear to the audience that the moderator has broken into a dialect not spoken on Earth for many centuries, but from a family which is of great old blood that migrated with the last great white hive during its golden age, it is considered wise not to disrupt them. Then back home and find my bed, which now has opened to connect me into these friends, so in Japan, in which you are free to study even some of our material possessions. Congratulations, you have completed the apology module. Rewards? 720 points toward a degree at your school of choice. Immortality. 2 points in each social stigma subsystem. Module. They don't want to listen like they used to. Try as much as possible to attract interest by seeing us and maybe seeing what the source is of something of interest that's here. Screenshot. Video recording 2 people here and out in public who happen to pass in front of them, along with the attentiveness that one gets from talking to one who has more than average or minimum intelligence, inkle, vision or otherwise. It is reasonable that at least one person was available for use. Module. Digital face. Whoa, son. Have a drink before you serve somebody. Those were the good old days when the screen wasn't lit with such digital and technological ingenuity as we explored with your V. Eat it for so many hours so early and with little reward, and your real flesh felt good when the two were met, but too many things on the other side. Have we heard nothing for this, so that if you happen upon my simple-minded brain for such things in this world to help understand why what we do for things we used to know, we must come with understanding and rationalization to remember. Always, 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 they don't want to listen like they used to. Take us through your strange behavior when we are together, through our differences, when you and I come back down into our sense of unity. We get ourselves as many minutes when we might find more connections among our diversity. We think there's some similarity, but as we like to say, it's 99% disconnection and 1% confusion. With so many in this world, you find yourself stuck in that 1%, trying to deconstruct them so much you will just sit here forever, getting angry for your rightful sense of freedom and autonomy to yourself is your sense of doing something great that you too and like it.
Okay, done. See you.